Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as Ruben Amorim gets angry with his players. I tell you what, I love this manager. Lots to talk about this morning. Also, Marcus Rashford, AC Milan. Could Zirkzee be leaving, and who could be coming in the next couple of weeks in this January transfer window. But this has echoes of the Everton game for me, where Man United won 4-0. Some people in our fan base wanted to turn it into Amorim era begins, etc. And actually, Amorim came out and said there's a storm ahead. We've just had our best game under Amorim against Liverpool at Anfield. There is no doubt about that. And Amorim comes out afterwards and he's angry. And this is why he is the right guy for me. Nothing against Ten Hag, nothing against Jose, nothing against Ollie, but a manager that comes out when we have a good performance and brings the reality is exactly what we need. Because we've had so many false dawns. It's incredible. It's incredible how many times we've had results like this. We had them with Jose, we had them with Ollie, we won at the Etihad, we won at Anfield with Louis van Gaal, Wanfield. So we've done it before, but we never build on it. And this is what Amorim is angry about, and this is what he had to say after the game. I think I get more mad because of the other games, like Newcastle and Bournemouth and Forest. It's even harder to understand. This is not about the system. This is not about the technique. It's about something else. And I think this something else is something that we are all aware of. I mean, it was an amazing 5-minute interview with Amorim. I mean, he's done more interviews than Alan Sugar, but that is the best 5 minutes I've ever heard. And he's absolutely, spot on with regards to what we need. I've had so many people messaging me, I'm sure you've had the same, going, oh, United looks really good. And I'm like, yeah, but we don't know what we're going to get next week against Arsenal. And we don't know what we're going to get against Southampton after that. We just don't know what we're going to get. And this is the frustration of Amorim, and it's the frustration of everybody else. It's not about technique. It's not about training. It's about something else. And I think we all know what that something else is. And it's been called out by the manager. It's mentality. It's simple as that. It's low IQ mentality. You look at, I've got no horse in the ring here. Man United yesterday, I'm very happy with them. I was very proud of the players that played their part yesterday. Absolutely happy with them. And yet, we're 14th in the league and we're glowing up a draw against Liverpool at Anfield because that's how bad we've been. We haven't scored over Christmas. We lost four Premier League games in a row. That team played well yesterday. I can think of £2 million a week not involved. Rashford, Casemiro, Eriksen, Mount, Anthony, Luke Shaw. The list goes on. £2 million a week in wages. £25 million a year in wages. Not even involved. This is the problem. This is the mentality of this football club. There is a hell of a lot of deadwood that ain't good enough. And that's what Amorim's talking about. It's more than training. It's more than technique. It's little cliques. It's bad mentality. It's downing of the tools. It's PR. It's entourage. It's ego. This is it. It's not a mystery. There is £2 million worth of talent not involved in that game yesterday. Some of them are injured, again. Some of them have got bad ego. Some of them have got a bad entourage. Some of them aren't worth it. Some of them are past it. But this is it. This is why we're inconsistent. You can be inconsistent because of Luke Shaw and Mason Mount because they're never fit. You can be inconsistent because Casemiro and Eriksen are past it. You can be inconsistent because people like Anthony and Rashford just don't turn up enough. These all factor in, and when you throw it all into the pot, you end up with a big tub of inconsistency. And that's where we are at the moment. And that is what Amorim is angry about. He went on to say that, look, I'm really mad. He said, I haven't spoken to the players yet because I need to calm down, but I'm really mad. He was visibly mad after that result against Liverpool. And he said, I'm not mad because we didn't win it at the end. I'm mad because of the results against Newcastle and Bournemouth and Wolves. I'm mad about that result. I completely get it. I completely get it. And he went on to say that if we played Liverpool every week, we'd be fine. Because we'd go in for every tackle, we'd track back, we'd concentrate, we'd play the pass. If we were playing Liverpool every week, we would be fine. But it makes me mad that they can play like that and then they can do what they've done for the last few weeks. And he's absolutely spot on. And I don't think we've really had this said by a manager since Sir Alex. The absolute ability to not... He could have come out and gone, this is exactly what I want. You know, Liverpool are the best team in England. We've been to their ground. We've gone toe-to-toe. We've played great football. This is what I want from the lads. This is all what I want. You know, this is all they've got to do. This is what they've got to do. And that's not what we've had. We haven't had that at all. We've had a manager come out and go, you know what, I'm angry. I'm really, really angry because we have clearly turned up at Anfield because it's Liverpool and put a shift in. I think Roy Keane spoke about it after the game yesterday. I think many of you spoke about it as well. I'm very happy with that performance yesterday, but do I trust we will see it again? And we need to see it again. He referenced like tackles from Maguire and De Ligt that we both remember in the first half. Really tough tackles. I think they were both in the space of a minute and they were both on Diaz. And Amorim was sort of like, but that's competitiveness. That competitiveness to make those tackles, to focus, to put your body on the line, to run that extra little bit. That's competitiveness that these players have had today because it's Liverpool. I've got no problem with that. But look at the previous few weeks. Did we do it against Newcastle? Did we do it against Wolves? Did we do it against Bournemouth? No, we didn't. And that's the problem. And he was asked about, you know, the impact of having a week of training. And he said, but it's not about training. It's about competitiveness. Training helps. More time with the players helps. But it's the attitude to go on the pitch and be competitive. That's what we need to do every week. And what I liked about Amorim is he didn't solve it. He didn't say from now on. I think the person who interviewed him said, "Do you think the penny's dropped with the players now?" And he almost said, "No, because the pennies. It's not. We've not solved the problem. This is everybody knows this. The players, the staff, the fans. I know it. The problem at Man United is not like we're going to solve a problem. We're not competitive every week, and until they're competitive every week, that's a problem. And anybody who thinks we're going to be competitive every week doesn't realise what it means to get up at 7 o'clock every morning and go to work. Like, anybody can get up tomorrow and get up at 6 o'clock and go to London, but can they do it every day for a whole year, for a whole season? And that's basically what Amorim's message was. There's always a message, and what he's saying is, look, I'm angry because the players got up for this game today and showed what they can do. But they didn't do it over Christmas, and they might not do it next week. They've got to do it every week, and that's the challenge. I mean, obviously, we're going to have to change players to do that, I think, but I just love the fact that he came out after the game and said he was angry, because I think there's just the mistake could be to be, you know, over-egging the pudding in the sense, and but he said, look, it's hard not to get mad. If we're playing Liverpool every week, we're fine. But we're not playing Liverpool every week, and we've got to be competitive every week. And solving that problem is the big issue, because, you know, thinking about the results against Newcastle and and Wolves, it just makes me really mad. So, look, I like that from Amorim. I really do, because I think it exposes the truth. And I said over Christmas and got ridiculed that we will win the Europa League. And I think there's a lot more people understanding what I'm talking about now. I also said before the game yesterday, and a lot of you agreed with me, I'd rather have a 2-2 good performance draw than a scrappy, shitty 1-0 win. And we need performance. When I look at Arsenal under Arteta and I look at Liverpool under Slot and Klopp, I don't look at Man City under Pep because it's bought. But, you know, Arsenal and Liverpool, They've built performance. They've built consistency on performance. We've had 10 years of the ability to turn up and win. And I'm not fooled by yesterday's performance. It needs to be consistent, and it needs to be every week. But we need to build performance. And if we play like we did yesterday, we'll win the Europa League quite comfortably. We'll be the best team in the Europa League quite comfortably. We'll beat Spurs, we'll beat everybody. But I don't trust that we can do that yet, and that's what we've got to build towards. We've got to be competitive every single week. And I look at Bruno Fernandes's performance yesterday, And there is no guilt, absolutely no guilt at all for criticising his performances last calendar year. I thought 2024 was a terrible year for Bruno Fernandes. That's his first performance in 2025. Now, if he can mentally park 2024 and be a different player in 2025, great. But what he did yesterday was what we've been asking him to do. I mean, the amount of times he held on to the ball, sometimes it looked like too long, but he held on to the ball for the right pass. It was disciplined and it was good. But you need that every week. You need it every week. Low-key, Ruben says these players can't be trusted, says Akil. Well, he's right. You can't trust these players at the moment. We never could. They've got to build that. Can they get out of bed for Southampton? I'm not so sure, says Harvey. Have you heard of the story at United of Wendy, who used to get the charity football signed by the players during Ferguson's time? Very illustrative of the standards and culture at the time, says Rohan. I haven't, to be honest with you. Amorim showing he has the right mentality, says Patrick Lynch. Now it's over to the players to match that for every game and not just the big games. And M. Parker says the key indicator is that the last time we had such constant possession was since Sir Alex. I'm very positive that Amorim is the guy. And Magni has been a member for 2 months. Patrick Lynch says yesterday was all about mentality. Amorim, Bruno and Martinez stressed this, reflecting Amorim and fans' frustration with the players' inconsistency. Yeah, look, maybe the penny can drop. Maybe it will drop. But it has to drop because there are so many teams out there that put in that work ethic every single game, and we have to do it. And look, I look at the team yesterday and I still think that there are areas, a lot of people talking about Rasmus, a lot of people talking about the fullbacks, a lot of people talking, I mean, some people are even talking about the goalkeeper. They are all conversations. I collectively am very happy with the team from yesterday, and we'll give them that opportunity against Arsenal. And remember, we've got a week off. Arsenal have got to play, I think, tomorrow night against Newcastle. Then they're playing us, and then they've got Spurs in the league on the Wednesday. We play on Sunday, and then we don't play till Thursday. So there's no reason for Man United not to go full pelt, energy-wise and team-wise against Arsenal next week. So there's no excuse. I know it's a difficult game, but there's no excuse for us not to go. And I think it's the perfect game, actually. I think that so many times you win at the Etihad or you get a point at Anfield or the Emirates, and then the next week you're playing bloody Swindon at home and you lose. I think it's actually really good that our next game after Anfield is a really difficult game again away from home. The confidence from Yoro with that tackle is very exciting. A young lad with the passion and desire already. Hopefully grow into Vidic for us, says Josh Burke. Hey, you know what? I thought that substitution was really brave. 10 minutes to go. Very, very tight game at Anfield. It's a risk, but as you say, what Yoro will get from that is, will be worth 5 starts against Brentford. For a performance like yesterday is why we need Mendes or Kirkes and not Davies, if you know what I mean. I would wait until the summer to get Gyökeres, says Akil. Thank you very much for that. Let's have a little chat about transfers, actually, because I thought what Amorim said after the game about Zirkzee was actually quite interesting. And I think it feeds into, and I must just say, it feeds into my theory that this is being driven by his agent and him, and they are unsettled. I said this a few weeks ago, and I think it just adds up, that when you look at the Zirkzee stories, they've been very, very, very consistent. They've been very, very frequent, and they've been very focused around Italy. And it's always happening, whether it's AC Milan, Inter Milan, Juventus. There's a story every other week about Zirkzee going to Italy. And I think for a lot of us, we look at it and we're like, why? I mean, yeah, it's not been a great start, but there's loads of players at loads of clubs in the Premier League that aren't great starts. He's only been here 6 months, and for the whole 6 months, it's been stories of returning to Italy. And my theory is that this is coming from him and his agent because he's not settled. Which can happen. Di Maria wasn't settled at Manchester United and he went within a year. So I think that all this guilt trip that people start throwing at United fans about Zirkzee, I don't see any United fans forcing Zirkzee out. I genuinely, was really pleased that the away support, who are always fantastic, were so, glowingly vocal in their support for Zirkzee yesterday. But I genuinely don't think that the applause for the substitution against Newcastle was aimed at him anyway. As I said, I think it could have been anybody and they would have got jeered off. It was more about the performance. But the actual desire to leave, I think, is coming from him, because Amorim after the game says, I want to keep Zirkzee because he gives everything. He's trying it in training, but we don't know. The window is open. We will see what happens. So that's not a... that to me is a very clear message from Amorim. I want to keep Zirkzee, but the window is open and we'll see what happens. You got to listen to what Amorim is saying. And if he wants to keep a player, that's the end of the conversation. But if he's saying, I want to keep the player, but the window's open and we'll have to wait and see what happens, that means there's a possibility that the player could go. But if the manager doesn't want him to go, why is there a possibility he's going to go? I don't think Ineos are going to be saying to Amorim, well, you want to keep him, we bought him, but we're selling him. I think it's coming from the player. I think it's coming from the player's side that he's unsettled. And I think it's become, in my opinion, I think that is clear that this is not coming from Manchester United. This is coming from the player and his agent, that he might maybe want to move back to Italy, that he's unsettled. And if that's the case, that, Amorim would like him to stay, but the player wants to go, you sort of like, you are in a position, it just reads that to me. It reads that to me that, we've got a manager saying that he'd like to keep the player, but he's not sure whether he's going to stay. It just reads that like that to me. Amorim said about the nerves of the fans at Old Trafford, I felt it too. We look more confident away from home. Is the energy transferring to the players, says Charlotte. Thank you very much for that, Charlotte. Amorim is a brilliant communicator, says D. Ben. And Zirkzee is technically very gifted, says Coopsy. He can pick a pass, has great control, just needs that confidence, and I'm sure he'll do well in that number 10 role behind Rasmus. He also said he wants to keep Rashford as well, says Relaxation Nation. Well, we'll talk about Rashford in a minute. Why are people talking about the red light? I'm not putting the red light on. It's a white light. I've had a white light behind me before, so no, we'll be using the white light, thank you. I've seen loads of people talking about the red light. I don't always have the red light on. But back to what I was saying, it's because the Christmas tree's gone down. The lighting's changed. But in relation to Zirkzee, yeah, it wasn't a definitive he's staying in January. But I'll go back because it is, it's Monday, a lot of people back to work, etc. I did say on the morning show yesterday, keep an eye on Anthony and Casemiro because they're the two players that we're expecting to go in the next couple of weeks. We're going to talk about Rashford in a minute, but it was interesting that yet again, in another big game, Anthony and Casemiro didn't get on the pitch. It was Garnacho who came on yesterday and he used Bruno deeper. So, Anthony's on 200 grand a week. Casemiro's on 350 grand a week. Eriksen's on 150 grand a week. It's a lot of money for players that aren't trusted, and you can't utilise those players. Transfers, on transfers, would you take Davies and Delap from Ipswich in the summer? No. Daz, I wouldn't, because I think that, I wouldn't mind taking one of them, but I'm not interested in taking two Ipswich players to put Man United in the Champions League, to be honest. I think we've got to be, you don't go raiding one club that's in a relegation battle to get in the Champions League. I think I'd take one. What does Derek think? Well, he's happily sat on the shelf behind me, I think. What's written on the board behind me? It's not a board, it's a picture of a very famous album, and it says definitely maybe. Let me talk to you about Marcus Rashford. There is an update coming out from DiMarzio in relation to Rashford. It says that AC Milan are very alert to Marcus Rashford's situation. The conditions of the move would have to be on a loan deal with Manchester United participating significantly to his salary. Other clubs have also made moves for Rashford. I mean, look, you know what? I've got to say, this Rashford debate by the day needs to disappear. I mean, I don't really know what Man United and Rashford are doing, but for the love of God, please solve it, because it's been going on for, I don't think it's even been a month yet, but it feels like it's been going on for 6. It's just so draining, irrelevant, and ego-led. It's just, it's PR. It's like, we've just had a really good result against Liverpool. And I don't want another week to be mobbed and taken over by this Rashford story. And this is exactly what happened after Man City. We beat Man City at the Etihad, and the whole week after was Rashford. In fact, I think it was the Tuesday where he did the interview. So we have to draw a line here as a football club. We have to make a move. Like, we've got to stop this. We have had a really good result against Man City get swallowed up by Rashford's story. We've just had a good result against Liverpool, and look what happened as well. Look what happened. Now, I'm not saying it's a coincidence, and I'm not saying it's a cause, but we had a really good result against Man City. The interview with Rashford came out on the Tuesday. We didn't win in the league again until, well, we haven't won in the league since. So we can't allow an irrelevant story to swallow up a positive. The positive is we've just played really well at Liverpool. We don't want another week talking about Rashford. This is exactly what happened after the City game, and we never won again. So this is what we're talking about competitiveness and consistency. When the club and players lose focus, the focus has to be on Arsenal and building on Liverpool. The focus cannot be on what's happening with Rashford. He wasn't there yesterday, and good. What would he have done yesterday? If he'd started, we probably would have lost. And if he'd come off the bench, we probably would have been worse. We genuinely, for the first time in a long time, I don't think missed Rashford. I think maybe we did miss him against Wolves or Newcastle, because you never know, he might grab a goal. But we didn't need him yesterday, and we don't need him. Just get rid. Get rid this week. Now, obviously, AC Milan and other clubs are interested in a loan deal where we're going to have to pay his wage. But we're going to have to pay his wage anyway. I see a lot of people going, well, no, forget AC Milan. We're not paying his wages. We already are. Like, we already are paying his wages. The point is, do you want to pay his wages somewhere else, or do you want to keep him here? And I think we're getting to the point now where we need him away. We need him. We were stupid enough to give him that contract. We've got to pay him. Move him on. If we're paying him 325k a week and he goes to AC Milan and we're paying him 200 grand a week and they're paying 125, it's not bad. If you can do better, great. But I just think we need to move him on, because if we don't move him on, the story's going to be: is he training again? Is he not? Is he ill still? Is he in the squad for Arsenal? And the bottom line is, he shouldn't be in the bloody squad for Arsenal. Shouldn't be anywhere near the squad for Arsenal. We don't need him in the squad for Arsenal. So loan him out. Loan him out, sell him, whatever. But it was interesting that David Ornstein, and I don't know the context, and maybe some of you do, but it was quite interesting that David Ornstein said yesterday that Rashford hasn't rejected bids from Saudi Arabia. I don't know whether that means there hasn't been bids from Saudi Arabia. I don't know whether that's because that he would accept a bid from Saudi Arabia. But the worst thing we can do, taking it away from Rashford for a moment, the worst thing we can do when you've got a manager who's angry with the result yesterday because of what's been happening in the weeks before, when you've got a manager who is frustrated by the inconsistency and the lack of competitiveness week in, week out from this set of players, the worst thing you can do is go, clearly there's a lack of consistency here. Let's keep using the same players again. Because we're just going to keep making the same mistakes again. We have an opportunity to draw a line in the sand, and if we don't draw that line in the sand, then we're going to be in trouble. Sorry, I just been sent a clip there that came in to say that Dwight York was saying that Ruben Amorim was trying to get the sack, which is incredible. One moment. Sorry, I'm back again now. I was just trying to sort them out. Who is the most realistic signing for a long-term Bruno replacement, says George. And Michael Matthews says, I don't think Rashford would get into that Milan team anyway. Lau and Pulisic are better than him. And Emmanuel says, do you not think the rest/ban helped Bruno? Amorim should rest him more. Eriksen can do a job with Mainu and Agate behind him. And on transfers, would you take Davies and Delap from it? I've done that one, haven't we? Any Nipan news, says Greg. Well, I wanted to talk about this next. What about incomings? I think one of the most criminal things that could happen after yesterday's performance is that Ineos go, we're fine. We're fine. I think it's just so bloody obvious. I mean, look, I put Kirkes in my team of the week this week. You've got Alvaro Fernandez being scouted by Bayern Munich at Benfica, and we've got a buyback clause. You've got Gutierrez at Girona. You've got Theo Hernandez at AC Milan, Alphonso Davies. There are so many left-back options out there, and as much as I like the performance that Delot put in yesterday, I think it's going to be, a flash in the pan. I don't think it's going to be, he's not a left-back. I thought he put in a good performance yesterday, but he's not a left back. So I'm very interested in this week at Old Trafford and Carrington as to what we're actually doing, because it's January the 6th, and there's 25 days left now. It's 3.5 weeks. It's 4.5 weeks of a transfer window in January. Well, there's 3.5 weeks left, and we've done nothing. So I'm looking at it and I'm going, well, in a week's time, we're halfway through January. So what are we doing this week? Because we're in a position at the moment where as fans, I think we need to be probably a little bit more open-minded and vocal, that we're playing one game a week for the moment. And that's absolutely fine. But from next week, we're back to doing the stupid thing again. And what I mean by the stupid thing is, look at the team yesterday. He still had to make subs, but we haven't played for 5 days, and we're not playing for another 7. And he still had to make subs because it's so competitive in this level of football that we play in these days. But when you look at United, I'm just getting the fixtures up now. When you look at our fixtures for January, all right, next Sunday, 3 o'clock, we play Arsenal. Thursday, Southampton. Sunday, Brighton. Thursday, Rangers. Sunday, Fulham. Thursday, FCSB. And then Sunday, Crystal Palace. And it's there again. So that's coming around the corner. And we've got to be very careful that, Ineos / the Glazers, good performance against Liverpool, don't need to buy any players. But we're going to be playing 2 games a week again very, very soon, and the window will close. If we come out of this window without doing anything, we already know from Amorim's press conference on Friday that he wants something to happen. We know we've got to sell to buy. I accept that. But there's more than enough players to move on. Anthony, Casemiro, Rashford, maybe even bloody Zirkzee. I don't know. But we need to get moving now, because performances against Liverpool are all fine and well, but there's not one United fan, pundit or analyst that is saying United don't need to bring players in. We need more players. I look at the bench yesterday and I actually thought it was a bad bench. I said it before the game. Apart from Garnacho, that's a bad bench. If I need to take Rasmus off, I haven't really got a striker. If I need to take Ahmad or Bruno off, okay, I've got Garnacho and Zirkzee, it's okay. If I need to take Mainu or Agate off, I've got Eriksen and Casemiro and Collier. That's not good enough in a game like this. And yeah, look, you've got Yoro on the bench, I accept that. But at wing-back, you've got nothing. Two of the most important positions on the pitch, you've got nothing. You've got Malacia. So we are massively understaffed in the midfield, pivot, on the wide positions and up front. Those three areas, we are absolutely crying out for reinforcements, and it will hurt us. We're not missing any players either. There's nobody to come back. I mean, Rashford, you can't say he's coming back. I think that's more problems than solutions. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Luke Shaw and Mason Mount are coming back, because I think that they're unreliable. So we've got to make some moves in this January transfer window, and at the moment it's quite quiet around that. In fact, it's very quiet. Now that could be that might not be a problem in the sense that Ineos have moved relatively quickly on deals in the past, but at the moment it's very quiet. Nobody can tell me a name that we might move for. I'm just having a quick look online to see if we've been linked to anybody, but yeah, I mean, tracking some players from South America. We need players coming in now. I've just been sent this from some pundit on Sky. Amorim has now set a standard that his players need to reach consistently following their showing against Liverpool. Where have you been, in a fucking coma? I'm not. You know, I'm almost getting as angry as Amorim. Where have these analysts been? Like we've had these performances before. It's funny. I felt like Amorim last night. I was really happy with the team, but there was an element of frustration that I just don't trust that they're going to do it again. And that's the thing. I'm not going to not be positive about yesterday. I am. But I'm also not going to be realistic and say I'm not going to guarantee that we'll do it against Arsenal. The biggest problem with United has always been we're capable of that. It's like, I think Solskjaer started it, and I think he thought he was being positive, and actually he was exposing a weakness. We can beat anybody on our day. The definition of beating anybody on your day means that you can get beat by anybody on your day as well. It means you're inconsistent, and we need consistency. We need competitiveness. And look, I was doing a show with Robbie this morning from AFTV, and he was saying that Arsenal may well even rest some players. They've got a bit of an injury crisis. So there's no excuse. I mean, it's a big game on Sunday, but there's no excuse. We've got to go out there and start performing. I really crave it. Gallera is the dream Bruno replacement, says Ravel. Unrealistic, but he's not getting real game time at Madrid. Snatch him the way Arsenal snatched Odegaard. And Shawnuk says, I would like to bring in someone like Ugarte, a player with an engine. Love the way we played as a team. Hopefully we play like this in every game. And United should bring in players with buyback clause, says Tilak. Can we get Felix on loan for number 10 role, says Akil. Is he at Chelsea again? I don't think that's going to happen. But you know what as well? I think that patience is a virtue, and it's not something that's always been in big supply with Man United fans. And what I mean by that is when you look at... I mean, look, I'm sure most of you can remember things the way I remember them, and sometimes you get so frustrated. And I remember when we bought Ugarte, and his first couple of appearances, he was rusty, and you had people in our fan base really slagging him off. Man United fans really slagging him off. If I recall correctly, he had a nickname. I can't remember what the nickname was. Don't need to see it in the chat. And this was after, like, I don't even think it was a full performance. I think it was like a couple of cameos off the bench. And you're like, how are we judging players after a couple of cameos where he's not had a pre-season? And what Ugarte has done is incredible. But it was, I think it was such an obvious success with Ugarte. I think it was always such an obvious success because the elements of his game that he's good at, it's hard not to succeed in the Premier League. You look at someone like Donny van der Beek. He didn't come to the Premier League with amazing stats for winning the ball back and being tenacious. He came with more technical abilities, which can be found wanting when you step up into the Premier League. But one area where you're never going to really struggle is if you are a defensive monster. And that's what Ugarte is. If you're quick, you're quick. If you can read the game and tackle, you can tackle. And that's something Manchester United just haven't had for a long time. And he stands out as one of our best players in the last 2 months, certainly since Amorim came in, because he's just so energetic and so good at intercepting and playing a simple pass. And he's been an absolute revelation. I just don't understand how people didn't think that was going to happen. And there was a couple of hipsters, actually, I remember, who were like, we don't need Ugarte. And I was like, go back to watching the bloody Ukrainian youth league or whatever it is you're watching. They might not even have a youth league at the moment, in fairness. Imagine Amenu, Edison, Ugarte, Kuna midfield, says Emin. I'd keep imagining because we're not getting Kuna. We're really not. But you know what as well? I think that I said this about Ugarte at the time. We need to be patient and we need to stick by our new signings. And I would implore people to be very careful about De Ligt, because I think certain United ex-players have been going after him for a while. I think the media have been going after him for a while. And I think that, obviously yesterday, the first goal, he made a mistake. But overall, I thought his performance was very good. I actually think the handball was unlucky. I think I'm going to do a video on That's Football, actually. It's coming out at lunchtime about general football at the weekend and the PGMOL. And I think we all would have wanted a handball if that had happened at the other end. But talking of which, apparently there was a handball that happened at the other end that Sky never showed the replay for. I still haven't seen the replay. I've been sent by a couple of very good people. They've sent me the images. But, this is what I mean. Omran says De Ligt was shocking yesterday. We've got to be very careful about this sort of thing. I don't think he was shocking at all. I thought he actually had a really good game. He just made a mistake on the Gakpo goal and was a bit unlucky with the handball. But this is what I mean. We've got to be very careful about these morons in our fan base who've become so indoctrinated and infected by negativity that even when you get a good performance, they still want to follow their agenda and slag somebody off. I watched the game yesterday. You watched the game yesterday. I'd argue from today till Sunday that De Ligt had a good game because a performance is not based upon one mistake. He got sent back to Ajax by Gakpo, I'll admit that. But some of the aggression that him and Maguire brought was so important. You're going to make mistakes as well. We're not playing FIFA here on easy mode. You're going to make mistakes. Bruno probably misplaced 4 or 5 passes yesterday. He was still brilliant. Ugarte probably missed a couple of tackles. He was still brilliant. I mean, Ugarte should have got booked. Still man of the match. So I thought De Ligt was really good. But the reason I mentioned De Ligt is because I think, you protect one player and he proves himself, like Ugarte. I think we might need to just protect De Ligt a little bit because the media in this country have never liked him. They've gone for him all the time. And it's mythical. I actually think he's been one of our better players over the last few months. And I think we need to start protecting some of our players. I absolutely love the praise and support Harry Maguire's getting at the moment because he completely deserves it. Just the same as Bruno completely deserves it. But that doesn't mean that Bruno didn't deserve the criticism last year. I think that all we can do as fans is support the team, but also be, very demanding that the consistency needs to be there. Joshua says, brilliant performance last night, but big question is, can we build from it? Also, don't blame De Ligt for sliding. Van Dijk done the same thing when Delot actually crossed it, says Joshua. And Alec Miller says, morning, Mark. Bruno gets a week and a half off due to red card, then plays one of the best games of the season. Perhaps fatigue has played a bigger part in Bruno's bad games than people realise. Not the first person to say that, Alex. Space Oddie says, De Ligt is a leader and has the exact fighting mentality that Amorim is looking for in the team. Thank you very much for your super chat there, Space Oddie. Appreciate that. I've just been sent something here. I'm just going to check out if it's anything worth looking at. And no, you see, this is what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about, right? Tell me I'm not wrong when I say all this Italy Zirkzee stuff is coming from Zirkzee and his agent. Another story today. We were literally talking about this 20 minutes ago. If you've tuned in a little bit late, Amorim has said he doesn't want Zirkzee to go. Zirkzee's only been here 6 months and he's an Ineos signing. I don't see for 1 minute why Man United would want to get rid of them. So it makes no sense to me. And then you've got Joshua Zirkzee's relationship with Amorim is at an all-time low, and Man United want to sell him. That's Corriere dello Sport. So it's another Italian outlet, another Italian club, and another link to Zirkzee. And I just think he or his agent are trying to push a move. That's what I think. Anyway, we're back at 2 o'clock, and for anything in between, we're live at 8 o'clock as well. Thanks everyone for watching. Lots for you to get your teeth into. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. I'll speak to you on the next one. Take care.